Hello. Today I'll be doing a guide on the Barrier Invocation self-damage comet build for Infernalist. Um, so the core concepts of the build is you burn a flame to do damage to barrier. Hence the Barrier Invocation will give you charges to do comet. And using Flask, regenerate your energy shield, you create a loop. Damage ourselves, we create this loop. There are other content creators or the creator of this build. I will credit him in the comment. I took a extended approach and made it a lot more tankier. So you can basically spam without worrying about anything. I'll get into the build. So, of course, in the demon form, we take demon form and we take altered flesh, so we take less damage from lightning attacks. This is Inferno Flames, so we need this for the build to work, and some extra there as well. Nice. I will link the max roll of my talent tree in the description. The important nodes to note that is that Soul Bloom, Eternal Youth, Heartstopper, Oasis, and these two potent concoctions. So those are mandatory nodes that you need to take. And also the energy nodes, the energy created, energy generated from your skill to proc your barrier invocation. That is really dependent on your HP and your HP pool, how much damage you're self taking, and how much energy you want to generate from them. So as you can see, the difference between my build and his build is that I went a lot of energy shield nodes. This is why I think my build is a bit more tankier. So you do need these two stun nodes here and the anti-freeze node. So there's two things that can kill you in this build: is if you get surrounded and you're infinitely getting stunned, then your self damage will just kill you. Same with freeze. If you're frozen in a spot, it won't work. Okay, so let's go into the jewels. So I'm using an Adorn setup. I found the best breakpoint is between 80 to 84%. With that being said, that's because that is the biggest gain for money that we can get for our energy and our flask jewels. So for red jewels, I went for one of them as elemental damage by resistance, and the rest of them are all for area of effect. That will go in. I'll explain this a little bit more in detail when we go into the spell gems. But the area of effect is nice, so we don't have to use supporting gems like Cascade to reduce our damage to get more AoE. This one, meta gems, you want to pair it up with triggered spell damage. I find that this was pretty that this increase was extremely broken. With Adorned, this actually gives you 32% spell damage increase, which is better than any node on the tree. With our here's another AoE one. With our green jewels, we are going for life recovery on flasks. We don't really care about duration. Usually our duration covers itself. So I went with 3 green ones here with life recovery and elemental damage. If you can get some type of resistance on any of these corrupted jewels, then it's also a plus. So 6 cold res turns into what, 10 cold res, 7 fire res turns into 12 fire res. So it's just extra res that you can get on your skill tree. Alright, let's go into the gems. So demon form, pretty standard geniality and second wind. So this means when you use demon form for the first time, it'll give you another charge. So if you need to recharge, you don't have to wait for demon form to come back up again. However, if you do use 2 of them at once, the cooldown is quite long. So what I do is basically I lift this gem up, put it down. It will oh shit. So if I have no more charges left, you lift it up. So the cooldown goes a fair bit faster. Your demon form back up. Barrier Invocation, the quality affects your energy gained. So again, this is another calculation that you need to make, that you'll get your energy gained must match your HP plus shield to gain basically perfect looping. So I find that with my current HP setup and the amount of energy that I need to gain is 1, 2, 3 for the most optimal looping. So we use Capacity here to increase maximum energy. Of course, Comet, mine's a level 19. Spell Echo, considered casting, and so I use Concentrated Effect for bossing. So, you do 40% more damage, but 50% AoE. But your general mapping or your simulacrums or, even your breaches, breach boss, stuff like that, I will use this. This will increase the area of effect. I will show you the difference. So it basically covers half your screen. Without this, very little. Right. Yeah. So hypothermia, this is just helps with bossing to reduce their curse, reduce their cold resist. The so at when you first start, the barrier invocation doesn't have any charges, so you would need something like hypothermia to cap out your infernal flame to give you that first damage to yourself to proc the barrier invocation. So it's good for that as well. The Arctic armor is our line of defense. If it hits us, we'll get frozen. The damage doesn't really matter as much, but they will get frozen. Alchemist's boon, so this is recovery from flasks. I have a very high level one because I have a lot of decks stacked up in my gear and in my country. So you might not get such a high level one. I think it starts at level 14 with 131 decks. So you can start with that. But this is pretty good. Frostbomb, this just creates cold exposure on the boss for me. I don't usually use this unless I know I'm in a bad stack state for a boss. And Ice Nova, I put it here just in case if you want to chill everything around you if you run out of Arctic armor charges, but usually I don't use it at all. Here for a filler. Well, obviously heighten curse, Hex Bloom, Focus Curse, trade effects. So this is the slide. And Arctic armor, we got Cold Mastery, Deep Freeze, and Alchemist Boon. This one's quite important. So this increase recovery of Life Flask with the supporter skill active. But yeah, that Frost Bomb, Strip Away, Dark Cascade, and Fast Forward. This Fast Forward would actually blow the Frost Bombs off faster. Ice Nova, Blind, Barrier, Cold Penetration. So, okay, so go into the gear. You don't need a main hand. You don't need an offhand. I just put this here so I can cast Comet while I'm out of Demon Form. Otherwise, the balance of the skills, because Demon Form gives you +6 skills, the unbalancing of the skills won't actually proc my Barrier Invocation. So, most importantly, Tattered Rope. A lot of people say that you can run this build without it. Yes, you can, but it's not optimal, and you will die. You will get one shot in certain circumstances, especially if you're doing very late game type of grinding. So get as the highest number of maximum life converted as possible. They're still quite cheap. So and you do want to increase life and mana recovery flask on this item specifically. It doesn't have too much energy for you to increase. Basically, every single piece of gear, what you want is high ES, cold, and lightning res. Or all 3 reses or all 4 reses to get your res capped, and any rarity that you can get, right? And basically all your pieces of gear apart from the chest and the amulet and the belt. So the amulet, what you're aiming for is Dex, so you can run a higher Alchemist's Boon aura, right? 1 to all skills, or 2 to all skills if possible, to basically increase damage of the Comet, but it's not mandatory. But what is mandatory is a 35 Spirit. So So you need 35 spirit to actually run all the auras that you saw in the yeah, so you need to run Arctic Armor, Barrier Invocation, and Alchemist Burn. So that caps out at 135 spirit. The 100 you get from character alone, and 35 from the amulet. And obviously, damage taken recouped as life. This is very important. The higher it is, the better. This is what keeps our demon form running. When our demon form actually takes self damage, it takes it from your health pool rather than your energy shield first. So we do need this recover life to get 200 stacks or 300 stacks of demon form. Belt, important stats to look for is obviously you want it to be a fine belt to get the charges gained per second. If you don't have a fine belt, it still works, I find, in maps. For bossing, it seems like those charges don't really add up as much. So it's probably not that good to maintain for bossing, but for mapping, any belt will be fine. What you're looking for is increased life recovery rate. You want as high as possible. The highest you can get to is about 40. Any type of res that you can get on this piece of gear, and reduce flask charges used. I think this one can get up to 30. So that means, if your flask says use 10 consumes 10 out of 75 charges, it will use 8. And now we get to the flasks. So flasks, these are very cheap. They're about 1 div each. You want to get yourself one, quality it up. So 100% life recovered, 40% increased charges gained. Once again, all your passive charge gains will be increased from this as well. Gloves. Okay, so gloves. There's no real mandatory thing for gloves. I just find it really good to get some decks on here and get some res. I probably should swap out the maximum life for rarity or something like that, but yeah, or get another piece that has higher energy shield. Same with boots. 30. I find 30 movement speed is pretty good. It's demon form gives you passive movement speed anyways, and your dash is basically very far like a blink. So get as much res as you can in your boots as well. For my rings, I went for double chaos rings. In the other build, I find they recommended using Mings. Mings reduced my life pool and my energy shield pool to increase like 40% damage to chaos. I find that using 2 cold damage rings outweighs that as well. So doing that, you'll have more HP, more mana shield, energy shield to work with, and it's easier to find your reses on the on these type of rings and get some rarity in there. So yeah, so I got double cold damage, rarity, and this one's pretty good. It's got dex. All res doesn't really matter. It's only 3. But you just want to get chaos capped. So my reses are here. I got 88% fire res, overcapped cold, lightning, and chaos is just on the dot. The reason why I overcap fire by this much is because you want to have 133% fire res. So if you run maps that have elemental curse, elemental weakness curse, that will reduce it by 15. So you're covered with that, and also the ritual gas reduces your all resistance by 30%. So this is to make sure that you don't kill yourself with a blowback, pretty much. Okay, so that's pretty much how I've set up this character. The further changes that I would like to make to this tree would obviously be getting a Ignolomiac jewel that will cover Soul Bloom, Loose Flesh, and hopefully Icebreaker as well in 1/3 gem. So I would extend out to there and have 3 points extra for another health pot gem. But that is pretty much it. What I'll do is I'll quickly run a map and show you guys how this works. So the whole time when you come in here, you want to self damage. This one has elemental weakness, but I'm covered on the over-res. And you just want to right click and use potion at the same time. See how I'm getting hit by everything, and it does not matter. I'm just that tanky. And the AoE gens really excels in these maps instead of using Spell Cascade. So I found that if you're using Spell Cascade, when you run out of Demon Form and you come back out, you don't actually have enough damage to one-shot these mobs. But when you change to the AoE approach instead of using Spell Cascade, I find that you don't lose damage, and the AoE kind of makes up for the group clearing, especially in breaches. I would just be able to full screen clear the whole breach in a matter of seconds. But yeah, usually in maps I'm just dashing around, right click, and pots at the same time. I've set my pot to my B key. That's because my dash is my spacebar, and I would push both of those together at the same time, and I would just run through. This is definitely not as fast as something like Stormweaver with Infernalist. But this is probably the best we're going to get in terms of the clear speed for Infernalist. The other ones that we're looking at is probably going to be some type of niche build, which wouldn't be able to clear and this fast. That Galarian boss pretty much fighting someone. And we're only up to 128 stacks and we're at the boss. So at the boss here, we go here, swap out magnified effect for concentrated effect. So you see over here, attack the boss. This is maxed out boss as well. Boss is dead. Step back. So there are times that we might do some damage, and when we do, don't panic. Just don't push your berry invocation, and you won't die. Your regen should be high enough to withstand all the damage that other mobs are doing to you. Yeah, so just don't panic, don't push anything, because last thing you want to do is self-damage yourself more, and that is where deaths happen. And pretty much that's just the map. And we did that in, what, under 3 minutes? The only flaw about this build, I would say, is the amount of magic bind that you can put. So I have got life last amount modifier to 183. Recovery rate, this is from your talents and your belt, and duration modifiers from your talents. Yeah, with these modifiers, I can pretty much sustain up to about 250 stacks of flame. Yeah, pretty much that is the build. If you have any questions, comments, I will get back to you. Catch me one of my streams. I'm not a big time streamer. I don't stream constantly, so bear with me if you have any questions. Cheers.